Greetings and welcome to Hexed Encountered. Today we're playing Trench Raid, solo game from Compass Games set on the World War I Western Front. You command a 10-man raiding party crawling across no man's land toward the enemy trenches. Every turn something can go wrong. Let's set it up. Okay, so here is the map. I will probably zoom in tighter on the battlefield, but I did want to show the components. So we have our soldier cards over here. There are 2 per sheet and they cover 10. So there's 5 sheets, 10 soldiers of various types, and you write on them with a marker. It's a dry erase. Once you're done, you can wipe it off and start over. Then we have some player aids, quick reference sheets here, various tables and information and so on. You have 2 of those. This is a solitaire game. Then we have some charts over here that we can use as well. Now, a lot of this will be off camera while I'm playing because, as I said, I want to zoom in on the battlefield area. So we're going to jump off from here, this little hex, or little, they're all the same size. This hex with the British flag in it. I'm going to push up in this direction towards the German trenches. And this is the frontline trenches here. Then you've got support trenches. And then in the back, you have the reserve trenches. And basically what you're going to do, and the way that this single board can basically be used over and over again and always present something of a different look to you, is you have to map the hexes in front of you. So you don't know, as you're leaving, you don't really know what you're going to experience as you cross no man's land towards the trench line. We will have to, of course, find out about that. Now, one thing, or a couple things here to note. So we have our terrain key type of thing over here. This covers all of the various markers that we will see. For example, this one would be a machine gun. Things that we may encounter as we're crossing no man's land and into the German trenches. Then, of course, here are our soldiers. So the way it's laid out, and you'll see this better when I zoom in and we start gameplay, we have our officer in the front. He's followed by 2 riflemen, then 2 bomber carrier pairs, right? The bombers are the guys with the grenades. The carriers carry extra grenades for the bombers. So you have 2 pairs of those. Then you have 2 more riflemen, and at the very back, you have an NCO. So that's the order in which they're laid out in terms of figuring out who's who. Now, you can name them. I probably won't name them for this particular gameplay because this is more, I feel like this is a little bit more of a demonstration mode or an instructional mode, although I'm on the fence about whether I should call it that or not. I'm going to play through and we'll see how things go. And then depending on how well this goes, maybe I'll try a campaign or something and do some videos on that, perhaps in a less detailed thing, more, short term, looking at various things that happen, but not in a video that's going to take an hour for one mission. The campaign in this game can last 5 raids. So by doing it that way, you can see how men will lose men, will get replacements, and you can accrue extra luck, which we'll talk about as we play as well, to kind of progress your soldiers. There's to me, a strong role-playing game element in this, but I think that is enough preliminaries. And, I did show the dice. So you have qualities. Each soldier will have qualities. And if we look at our riflemen here, you can see up here you've got speed, strength, courage, command, shoot, fight, and throw, and luck, and then any particular skills they may have. Now, you get a certain number of dice based on your abilities in each of these. And you get 6 white dice, D6s, as well as this red die. This is what's called the botch die. So what happens is if you fail a check, right, you succeed on a 5 or a 6. So let's say that we're doing something that needs a speed check. And this is where that role-playing thing comes into my head. You have 3 dice, right? You need to succeed, you need a 5 or a 6. So you roll, and we got a 4 and a 3 and a 6. So the 6 is a success, but there are 3 levels of difficulty in your tasks that you're going to be doing, or your actions, which would be difficult or average, difficult, and very difficult, I think is what they're called. So for average, 1 success means you did it. For difficult, you need 2, and for very difficult, you would need 3, and you'd have to have a 5 or a 6. So you can see where you're going to have some failures. And when you do fail, so let's say this was a difficult one and we needed 2. Now we could spend one of his luck items, I guess, one of his pieces of luck, so to speak, to re-roll 2 dice. But luck is a commodity that you will eventually run out of, so you may need to pick and choose when to use it. But anyway, we roll this botch die, and it landed on a 1, which is what I was hoping it would land on. When you land on a 1, that means that something really bad happens. So it's like a failure, but a failure that's upgraded to an even worse level of failure. And I moved all my men around here, so I need to rejigger these. So I'm going to start playing. I will pause a moment and reset the shot so that we can see this stuff. And I'll show the other elements as we go through, but I want to get some gameplay in here before we're too deep into the video. Actually, I forgot a couple things before we start. So I mentioned the items on here, and you can see these are our 4 riflemen. Right? So you have to pick equipment and so on. You track wounds over here. Your equipment is tracked down here. They can each carry 5 pieces of equipment. Then we'll note all of the standard kind of skills here. Riflemen get 3s in everything pretty much, and they get a 4. Everybody has kind of a specialty, I would call it. Theirs is shoot. Riflemen shoot. Makes sense, right? So, speed, strength, courage, command, all of those are 3s for a rifleman. Shoot would be a 4. Fight, throw, luck, all 3s. And then you can pick a skill. But we also have to pick our items, and these are the items you can choose. Now, a rifleman, as you might expect, has to take a rifle or a pistol, I believe they can also take. But then they can take 4 other things, and they all have various effects on events and things that happen while you're out, either in no man's land or in the enemy trench area. So I'm going to do that off camera. I'll come back and kind of talk about what I chose, and then we'll get into gameplay. Okay, let me show you what we did here. There. Okay, so I ended up naming them anyway. So Ashworth, I'm left-handed, so I tend to smear stuff. I might have to use, there's a kind of a group sheet that is put together, and it's on BGG. And Glenn Saunders, I think, made it. And it has everybody on one sheet, and you just fill it out in pencil, which might be a little easier. Because you can see my 3s and 4s are hard to read. I mean, I know the squiggly ones are 3s, and I know by looking, for this first game, it doesn't really matter, right? You got your luck points down here. Okay, so he's an officer. He gets a 4. He gets an extra die in command. I gave him the skill of being able to speak German. That way, if we make some noise and we get to the enemy trench, and you need somebody to act like they're German so that they don't get shot, then he's our man. Okay, so these are the equipment. I gave everybody a balaclava, so they'd have kind of a way to mask their faces. Nobody's wearing a helmet. He's also got a compass, a trench periscope, his pistol, and a gas mask. I gave everybody but one character or one soldier a gas mask as well. This is our NCO Drummond. NCOs get a 4 in courage, so he's got that. His skill is a politician, which gives a +1 to command. So if he ever needs to use the command skill, he'll actually get an extra die for that. And of course, he's got a field. In addition to the standards here, he's got field dressing, a rifle, and wire cutters. Then if we look at our riflemen, we've got Blackwell here. He's got their skill is, or extra point is in shooting, right? Strongman, so he gets an extra die for strength checks. I gave him a club just in case he needs to hand it off to somebody, probably more than anything else. Field dressing, a gas mask, and of course his rifle. Ogden got, he's also a rifleman. He got the medic skill, so he can help bandage someone up. So of course I gave him a field dressing, and his partner also has one, and you can exchange equipment between men. So if somebody gets wounded and Ogden patches him up and uses his field dressing, his buddy Blackwell can pass him the field dressing he's carrying, and then he would have a spare to use on someone else. on another wound later on. Then he also, of course, has his rifle and some wire cutters. Should we encounter wire, which is probably likely. Rifleman 3 is Garnett. He's a marksman, so he actually gets 5 dice for shoot. And I gave him some body armor, which helps protect you when you get shot, of course, right? And a flask of rum, in addition to his rifle and the standard mask and balaclava. Then we've got Chadwick here. He's got a compass, a rifle, and wire cutters. Then our bomber carrier pairs. Fairfax here, he's a medic as well. He's got his field dressing and a club. These guys don't have a firearm, so I thought it might be useful to give them clubs. 3 of them, I think, have them. So, and the extra one, of course, is carried by one of the riflemen. So if we need to swap it out, we can. So as I said, he's a medic. He's got his field dressing and a club, in addition to 2 bags of grenades. Tully's got 2 bags of grenades and a club and a gas mask. So Fairfax is our unlucky guy. If we get gassed, he's the one who's going to suffer the most. There are 2 types of gas attacks that we'll talk about during gameplay. Hurst here, he's got runner, which gives him an extra die in speed. Of course, throw for bombers and strength for carriers are their extra die for skill. Or they're just extra die for their class, basically. Again, I keep thinking about RPG stuff with this. Anyway, he's got the grenades, a club, and a gas mask. He's got a field dressing and a gas mask, moss. And his is cricket, which means he gets an extra die in throwing, which could be useful if he ever needs to throw a grenade. So that is the setup. So the next thing we need to do, I was wondering if we had a sequence of play I could show you, but I don't think we do. So the first thing we're going to do is just roll to see what our objective is now that we've got everybody set up. And we get a 3. Now 3 is enemy trenches. 1 through 3, enemy trenches. 4 to 6 is in no man's land. So we have to make it up here to the enemy trenches. Right? That makes things a little bit more interesting, perhaps. Okay, now we have to roll again to see what specific objective it is in there. 5 is bring back the body of one. Oh, wait, that's no man's land. Sorry. Scout the enemy trenches to see if poison gas cylinders have been brought up to the front line. The cylinders will be within the front trench line if they are present. Special rules. To complete this objective, the raiding party must explore the 13 hexes 1504 to 1516. That's along here. 16 is here. And 04 is 1, 2, 3, 4. So right here in the middle. Immediately opposite their jumping off point. The raiders must enter and clear the 6 hexes to the left and right of the enemy front trench hex that is immediately in line with their jumping off point. So here's our jumping off point down here. If we just go straight up the line, that's the center of where we need to go. All right, the next thing we're going to do is mapping no man's land. We're going to map the hexes adjacent to us. Okay, and you can see here that we're going to fill in the details of the map. So we're doing this actually before we leave. So this is, it's usually done at the end of the turn, once we're done moving, I guess. But in this case, we're going to need to know before we start. So we're going to do the 3 adjacent hexes right here next to our jumping off point, which is here. So we're just going to do these 3, and you just roll 2 d6s, like so. And we got a 5. Now, if we look at our chart here, you can see 5 is open ground. Okay, so we take an open ground marker and put it here. So we know that that's open. Now we'll do the next one. That's a 2, and a 2 is, and I closed the book like a fool. A 2 is barbed wire. 2 and 12 are barbed wire. I forgot about that. Put a barbed wire one right here. Third and final one to do, 8. And an 8 is open ground. So lots of open ground. All right, 2 out of 3 open ground. Not bad. So this counter right here, I believe, represents our little group. So I'm going to put that on here. Right. And then we're going to start moving. Yeah, so I'm a fool. There's a little thing right here that tells you what the mapping is. All right. Oh, extends 3 hexes in either direction. I forgot about the barbed wire special rule. So I need to take care of that. So rule 11.1, barbed wire stretches horizontally across the map. It extends for 3 hexes to the left and right of whatever hex it is encountered in. Okay, so we're going to have 1, 2, 3 here and 1, 2, 3 here. Right. Okay, so basically, I mean, we could go here, but we're going to move right into this barbed wire hex because we need to cut our way through. So we'll just put them there. And then whenever you enter a new hex in no man's land, you have to roll. So I'm going to roll here. And that is a 4. So a 4 means there's no event. For no man's land, in barbed wire hexes, an event only occurs on a roll of 1. So that was a 4, of course. We don't have an event. Okay, so everyone who has wire cutters can attempt to cut the wire. So we have 3. We have 2 riflemen, Chadwick and Ogden, as well as our NCO, Sergeant. I'm just going to call him Sergeant Drummond. So they would each get an extra die. So that would be 4. No, that just means they can try. So they get 3 dice. I'll let Chadwick try first. He got 1 success, which this was an average difficulty task, so that means he was successful and the wire has been cut. So we put the cut wire counter down. Turn it this way so you can see the path right through it. This one goes back over here, and our men can now move up next turn. Okay, so there are other things we could do here if we needed to, but we don't need to do any of them. Things like determine whether someone's incapacitated. Nobody's been wounded yet, so we don't have to worry about that. We could reorganize our marching order. We don't need to do that. And we also could redistribute equipment, but we don't need to do that. So what we're going to do next is just map no man's land here. All right, let's map our next 3 hexes. Oh, actually, we only have to map that one. That is a 6 and a 6. Oh, wait. I got to roll 2. So one's a 6. The other's a 2. So that's an 8, which is open ground. Okay, and that's the end of the turn. So we would then just, move up and continue. All right, on to our second turn here. So I think it's clear that we will need to move here. Now, open has a much higher risk of having something happen event-wise. So in open ground, it is a 1 to 3. So let's see, we got a 5. So we did not get an event. So we don't have anything to do really. I guess we just kind of move and attempt to map, or just map rather, the next adjacent hexes. Now we do have a crater hex right here, so we don't have to map that one. That's just a crater. So we have to map these 2. So we'll start on the left, and we'll roll here to map it. 2d6. We got an 11, which is pretty high. And according to our trusty chart here at the bottom of the map, that is Shattered Forest, which we have not yet seen. And that looks like this. I'm going to put that there. And then we'll roll for the other hex. And we got a 5, which is again open ground. Now you may wonder, what is the effect of, say, Shattered Forest? So this is the stumps of shattered trees help prevent the raiders from being hit by snipers and machine gun fire, but these obstacles also make shooting more difficult. Here's the possible conundrum, right? Shattered Forest, you get, what is it? A 1 or a 2, so we have a slightly less chance of getting an event. But for demonstration purposes, I'm going to just move into the open from the standpoint of hopefully getting an event so that we have something to show here. So again, we're just going to roll one die, and this time we got a 1. So a 1 is an event. Now, when you get an event, you roll your d20, and we got a 6. So a 6 on our event chart, which is right here, right? No Man's Land events, as you can see at the top. A 6 is enemy trench raiders. So we have encountered a party from the other side that is doing the same thing that we are doing. Now this this will result in hand-to-hand combat, basically. So I'll read you the excerpt from the rule book about this, 13.6. You're not the only raiding party out tonight. You've just blundered into a raiding party from the enemy. You'd better fight quietly. If the enemy hears shots, he'll know you're coming. So we roll a d6 to determine our odds. We got a 3. And a 3 is odds are 1-to-1, difficult. So not overly difficult, but difficult means that we need to roll 2 6s. So now each soldier must attempt a fight action. On a failed roll, the soldier takes 1 wound. On a botched roll, the sailor. Wrong. The soldier takes 2 wounds. Difficulty depends on the odds as above. After each soldier has undertaken his action, the event ends. The enemy trench raiders, including if we had enemy prisoners, that would affect things, but we don't. We're either killed or driven off. So basically, you do 1 round of fighting, and then it's over, and you move on. So we will start at the top with our commanding officer. Okay, so his fight rating, right? You have a fight rating right here. It's a 3. It's a 3 for pretty much everybody. He does not have a club, but he does have a pistol. But again, we're not trying to fire. So he's fighting unarmed. Now, what that does, so it's not an automatic failure. I just confirmed that in the rules, but you get to roll 1 fewer die. 1 die less. Yeah. Okay. So we only get to roll 2. So we need a 5 and a 6 here, or he's going to fail. Well, we got a 6, but we also got a 1. So now we have to roll the botched die and hope we don't get a 1 on this one. And we didn't. We got a 2. So it's a failure, but it's not a major failure. So he gets a wound. Now, when you're wounded, you have to do a wound check. Or I can use a luck, which he has 3 of. And for some reason, I didn't mark them. They must have gotten erased. But you can see here, I did draw them in there, but one of them, I guess, I rubbed off with my finger. That's the problem with this. I am definitely, look at that. I am definitely going to use Glenn Saunders' sheet, I think, going forward. So he's got 3 luck points. I'm just going to rub that off with my finger, see how easy that comes off. And he's got 2. I'll just remember for now. So we're going to re-roll this one and hope we get a 5 or a 6. And look at that. We got a 6. That means he wins, no wound. But he's down to 2 in terms of luck. Now, we have the same situation here with our riflemen, I believe. Let's see. Rifleman 1, Blackwell, has a club. So he gets all 3 of his dice. Here. All right. And unfortunately for him, he gets all losses there. So I'm going to take one of his lucks as well. And look at that. We got a 6 and a 5. So that is also a success. Next man in line is rifleman number 2. That's Ogden. Ogden does not have, a club. So he only gets to roll 2. And he got a 4 and a 3. So I'm not going, we'll use his luck, whatever. It's not going to, we had a 4 and a 3 again. So he is our first one to get a wound. Oh, botch die. No, okay. Okay, so to check our wounds, we roll 2 dice. And we got a 3. And a 3 is head. And we roll 1 severity die. And you take the highest value, which in this case is whatever you roll, and it's a 3. And that determines how severe the wound is. So in the case of wounds, when you roll for severity, lower is better. In this case, a 3 is a light wound. So Ogden gets a light wound to his head. Now, if we come over here, you have head wound, and he gets -1 die to all stats because of that. Okay, so let me mark that off. All right, so that is 4 down. Now we move to our first set of bomber and carrier. So bomber 1 is Fairfax. He is equipped with a club. He is a medic, so he might be able to help patch up Ogden here. And we succeeded because we got 2 6s. All right, next is his carrier. That is, it got rubbed out. So I don't remember what it was now. And he got a 5, a 4, and a 1. So we will re-roll. We'll use one of our lucks, leaving him with 2. Oh, he also has a club, which I did not mention. That's why I was rolling 3. 2 successes. So he also, but he's down to 2 luck now, just like the other fellows who have used that already. So now we go to our next two men in line here. So we went officer, rifleman, bomber, carrier. Now we go bomber, carrier again. Hurst and Moss. Hurst does have a club, but he did not roll 2 successes, only 1. So we'll use one of his lucks as well, and we succeeded. Now Moss only gets to roll 2 because he does not have a club. And he rolled snake eyes, so that's not good. You know what? We're gonna accept it and let him keep his luck. Okay, so he rolled a 3 there. Now we will again roll for what wound we got, and I believe that's on one of these. Yes. So here are your rolls. Yeah, wound location. So we roll this first. That's a 7. 7 is a chest wound. We're going to roll 2 dice for severity. 6 and 3, you take the highest, so that is just a scratch, no effect. So he got lucky. All right, so Moss is done. So now we're down to our final 2 riflemen. Rifleman 3, Garnett, and 4, Chadwick. Garnett has no club, and he got a failure. He does have body armor, but I don't think that helps in fighting. I think that only helps with gunshot wounds. Let's see, body armor. Okay, yeah. So it says when checking for severity, roll for a chest wound. So we can check if he gets it. So let's roll the botch die. It's a 3. Now we'll roll again for wound location. If it's chest, we'll be good. It's a 4 and a 3. That's a 7. And guess what that is? Chest. So when you roll, you roll an additional die. So instead of rolling, let's see, severity, you roll for chest, you roll 2 dice, so we get to roll 3, and we take the highest. And the highest is a 6, so therefore that's just a scratch again. Now we do Chadwick, who does have a club, right? Actually, no, Chadwick does not have a club either. He did get 1 success. We'll use a luck, and doing pretty well. Usually you get chewed up, from what I've heard. Oh, he's also a pugilist, and they get an extra die for fight actions. Yeah, I mean, he passed anyway, but I should have remembered because I was supposed to roll 3 dice for him. Okay, so he's good, and now we come to our NCO. That is Sergeant Drummond, who does not have a club, and he does not have any skill to give him a 3rd die. But look at that. He rolled 2 5s. So we got lucky, honestly. So the fight's over. We had 1 soldier take a wound, and that's it. Now, again, we have a crater here, so we're going to check for terrain for these 2. So we're just going to roll our dice here. Okay, so we're going to roll, and we got an 8, and an 8 is open ground. All right, let me grab an open ground here. So that is there. Now we roll again. It's a 3, and a 3 is ruined building. Okay, so we have a ruined building. This is interesting. All right. Okay, so ruined building. We check. Oh, I forgot to roll for an event on open ground. Actually, no, you do that when you move into it. Sorry. All right, so ruined building. That's an interesting one because it has an event chance of 1 or 2. All right, and in terms of other things, the remaining walls of this building provide cover from machine gun fire and sniper fire, so that's good. We can move up into that here now. Now, here's a chance to roll. We have a medic. Okay, so the incapacitation check, he's only got a light wound to his head, so we can't really bandage him up to make him be functional. That's what it really does. So basically, we're just going to continue playing here. And we're just going to move him up there. So Ogden does have a head wound, which means he loses 1 die on all his skill checks, which is not ideal, but we'll muddle on, as it were. Okay, so we have entered the shattered building hex. We'll roll. And that die took off on me, but we got a 2, which is an event. So now we got to figure out what our event is. So again, we're going to roll our D20. And we got a 12. And a 12 here. 12 is missing man. Okay, so let's check the description for that, which is in here. So we have this trusty thing right here for events in no man's land, one of our player aids. And missing man right here. In the darkness, one of the members of the raiding party has blundered off and gotten lost. Each soldier, starting with the last man in the marching order and working up the column, must roll a d6 to determine whether he's become separated from the raiding party in the darkness. We'll skip the prisoner part since we don't have any. First soldier to roll a 1 is the one who's lost. This soldier is left behind and must make his own way back to the trenches. If none of the soldiers roll a 1, the man who blundered off returns to the party. So basically, unless we roll a 1 for any of our 10 men, we won't lose anybody. So we're going to start at the back with our NCO. Oh, man. Poor Sergeant Drummond. He got lost. Okay, so we count the distance, and he's actually going to get lucky in this case. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 hexes back to the line. So he's going to easily make it back. We don't even have to check. 1 to 6, you don't check. 7 to 12 would be an average check, and 13 to 22 rather is difficult. So he makes it back, and I'm just going to set him back here. So we're down to 9 now, having lost our NCO there. I think that is that, and we now have to go on to our next hex here. But first, we need to map. So we got a crater here, so we're checking these 2. Mapping those 2, I should say. So we roll our 2 dice. It's a 5. That is open ground. Now, open ground is the most common result. So anything between 5 and 9 is an open ground. And if you're familiar with the way 2d6 rolls work, 7 is the most likely to turn up, and it goes down from there, with 2 and 12 being the least likely, and we get another open ground. So that makes it relatively easy on us here. And again, our direction needs to be pretty much straight ahead, so we're going to do that. Now, one thing we have not done yet, and I think I'll mention it here, is go into, or you may wonder perhaps, the craters. A crater occupies a single hex, right, like this one. and provides cover from machine gun fire. Now, if we go into the small crater, our event die is 1 to 3. The only reason I'm not going to do that, because there's one up here that I could also go to if we want to, is I want to continue to go straight towards our objective, which is up at the top, straight ahead. We're straight in line with it, as you can see. Our goal is here. Having said that, let's continue. So we've moved into open. We roll for an event, only a 1. It's a 5, so no event. Now we have 3 hexes to map. So we will start on the left. That's an 8. That is, again, open. Okay, next. A 4. That is not open. That is a ruined building. So now we have a ruined building in front of us, and we move to the next one. And that really went a long way to just become an open. Oops, just dropped one of the player aids on the floor, getting that thing there. So we will move to the the ruined building. Okay, move there. And we'll check for an event. That is a 6, so no event. Okay, shattered building is a 1 to 2, is an event. Okay. Now, for mapping purposes, we have large crater, large crater. So we're just going to map the middle one here. That's a 4. A 4, again, is a ruined building. So it's like we're going through a little hamlet or something here. And so we're going to move up again. And we'll again roll 1 or 2. It's a 3, so not an event. Really should get my dice tower out. It just, it casts shadows and takes up space, and but it'll keep me from moving all my terrain counters around. Okay, so again, no event. We're going to go back to mapping again. Slide this up a little bit so we get a little bit more room. We got a 7, of course. That is, as you probably can guess, open. So we put an open here. And we will move up to there. And we will again check for an event. Almost a 2, but no event. Now we'll do mapping again. We have this one and that one. Got a 7, which is open. And again, an 8, which is also open. So now we're going to move into the small crater. And we will roll for an event. And it is a 1 to 3. And it's a 4. So we're having an uneventful an uneventful trip here. All right, next roll. That is a 7, open again. 11. 11 is shattered forest. Okay, shattered forest. And another 11, also shattered forest. Here, into our shattered forest. So shattered forest is a 1, 2. And that's a 4. Well, 5. 5 is open. A 10. I'm guessing a 10 is, yep, shattered forest. And the third one is also a 10. Okay, so we're just going to slide on up there, do another check. It's a 4. And so we will continue. Getting close now. 7. 7 is open. All right. Middle. 4. 4 is a ruined building. 5, also open. Oh, that's a crater. We don't need to check that. All right, into the ruined building. Check. It's a 1, 2. That's a 6. So nothing. And now we have to check again. So let's do here and here. 6, which is open. 5. You guessed it, open. I'm going to move into the crater. 1, 2, 3. Nope, that's a 5. 5. All right, mapping the last hex here. That's a 7, which will be open. Right there. 7. I was just trying to keep it from running off the table on me. That's why I caught it like that. That's a 10. 10 is Shattered Forest. Yep. Start to remember them after a while. All right, so now we'll move up into here. Again, it's open. We roll a 1. That's not going to give us an event. All right, we have made it to the enemy's trenches. So these are the trenches. You can see the little squiggly lines here. These are communication trenches. All right, so you can see that they move from front to support, and then they also go further back to reserve. Now, just slide this over. So yeah, that's pretty good, I guess. So what we've got is we're here. Now we have a trench periscope, which will allow us, I think, once we go in, we can look. Once we get inside the trench, we're going to enter here. We have to go to 1516, which is here, right? I think that's what it was. It's the 6 hexes. Let's see, enemy trench, 13 hexes, 1504 to 1516. So 1504 to 16. So it's these. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 13. So that's a lot to map. So we're going to have to go this way or this way, and backtrack as well. So we'll jump in here into 1510. Now, once you enter a hex, you check only that hex to determine what's in it. Okay, so here, mapping enemy trenches. So you can see we have a 2 through 12. The most unlikely is a pillbox. Our most likely is a trench section, but you also have machine gun nests, dugouts, and mortar emplacements. Okay, and then you have the 3 levels of trench: front, support, and reserve. So we're going to start with an 8, which is going to be a trench section. Now that is this here. So we just put this in here. Maybe it should go more like that. I don't know. I don't think it really matters. Okay, now that we're here, we can actually use our periscope, which is equipped by the captain, or the lieutenant, I should say. Ashworth has a periscope, and we can use that to look into the next hex of the trench. Okay, so I'm pretty sure I screwed up by not going like to this end or this end. For some reason, I thought, oh, I have to go in this one, but you don't. So if I had just gone down here to 1516 and then came in and went through the trench to clear it out, that would have been the smart move. But that's not what I did. So when you're in the trench section, you get an automatic event based on what you're in. So in the case of the trench section, which is a straight stretch of trench alternating with traverses, right, set at an angle to the main trench line to break up the trench line and prevent enemies from shooting down its length. Trench raiders typically clear the enemy out of trenches by tossing grenades past the traverse into the next straight section. Soldiers with grenades may attempt a difficult throw action to bomb the trench. On a successful roll, the trench has been cleared. On a failed roll, nothing happens. On a botch, special rules come into play. If the trench is not cleared using grenades, each soldier who did not throw a grenade must attempt an average fight or shoot action. And then if you fail, you take a wound. Well, that's an average, so you get to roll 3 dice. And you only need 1 success. So maybe we shouldn't use grenades on this one. So we're not going to throw grenades here. We're just going to start rolling. And I'm just going to use my dice tray here. All right, we got a 7, a 3 and a 4. Actually, what am I doing? I have to roll 3. All right, so this is the captain, and he got no no the captain, the lieutenant. He got no successes. Um, so let me use his second luck and try again, and we still got no successes. So now we have to roll for an injury. Well, we have to roll the botch first, and we didn't yet. We got a 2. All right, so now we have to check for our medical situation here. So wound location. 7 is chest. We roll 2 dice. For severity, it's a 4. Well, it's a 2, so that's a serious wound. Serious chest wound for the lieutenant. Okay. We should have thrown grenades, I guess, huh? All right. So, well, this stinks. So he's got a serious chest wound, and he loses 2 dice on certain stats. Yeah, because the only thing worse than a 2 is a 1, and if he had gotten a 1, he'd be dead. So he's got a serious wound. And at the end of the turn, we'll have to check to see if he is incapacitated, and this would be when we would use the medic ability. So let's move to rifleman number rifleman 1. That is Blackwell. He got a success, 1 success. He got a 5, a 3, and a 1. Okay, so he has a success. Then we go to rifleman 2. He also got a success, 5, 4, 1. Then rifleman, or rather bomber 1. He got a 5 on one of the dice, so that's a good one. Yeah, he has a club. And then the carrier 1 also has a club. He got a 5 as well. Okay. Then we go to bomber 2. And bomber 2. Yeah, definitely need to use the smaller things here. He has a club. He did get a 5. So he is a success. Carrier 2, no club. 2 dice. Does not pass. Now, he used one of his luck last time, so he's going to have to do it again. This is Moss. And he got it on the second one. So he's down to 1 luck, but he is not wounded. All right. Ogden was wounded, so he was supposed to lose a die, and I forgot to do that. Yeah, so I screwed that up, but we'll carry on. Now we've got our 2 riflemen, and since we're short, our NCO, this will wrap it up. This is Garnett, no club. Only gets, he does that. Let's try one more time with a luck. Nope. All right, well, I could do, let's use his 3rd luck. The heck with it. Got a 6, so he's out of luck, but he did pass. And Chadwick has pugilist, though, which gives him a 3rd die. And he got 2 successes, so he succeeds. So that means that hex is now cleared. And so now we'll use the periscope. And we have 2, which is lucky because of our captain having, you keep calling him the captain, the lieutenant. Who has the other trench periscope? Well, I guess not. Nobody. All right. Well, he only gets 1 die. But I don't think you have, I think you can automatically, well, we can do, but I'm ahead of myself anyway, because we didn't do any of the other things we need to do here. So at the end of the turn, all right, so we're going to roll 1 die. If it's a 4, 5, or a 6, he's not incapacitated. It's a 3. Okay, so now we will use our medic, of which we have 2, I believe. Ogden is 1. We know he's hurt. The other one is Fairfax. Yes, Fairfax will attempt this. So he is a medic. And so, okay, so you're supposed to roll 2d6 instead of 1. And use the higher of the 2 results. And if he's a medic, you get a third one. So we know that the first one was a 3. Oh, God. 2-1. So he is, in fact, incapacitated. All right. So what we need to do now is we can leave him, or we can detach somebody to bring him back. So I think we will detach somebody to bring him back. And maybe we'll send Ogden, who's also wounded. So let's do that. So Rifleman 2, Ogden, with his light wound, will take Lieutenant Ashworth back to the line. Now, we're in row 15, which means we have a difficult check to do this. So we have to roll a strength action. His strength is a 3, but he has a light wound, so he's only going to get 2. And so he would need to roll both. Actually, we're not going to do that. I'll use my strong man, Blackwell. Blackwell's going to take him. He's going to get 4 dice because he's strong. And he still failed. Okay, on a failed roll, the soldier isn't able to carry the wounded man. He's forced to abandon the wounded man in no man's land and return to the trenches alone. Well, we need to roll for a botch, too. It's a 2, so that's not a botch, thankfully, because on a botch, he would die. All right, so we go to 17.3, left behind. Men left behind. Okay, incapacitated, which is what he is. So a 1 or 2, he's killed. 3 or 4, he's captured. 5 or 6, he's back, makes it back. It's a 4, so he was captured. So Ashworth has been captured. And we sent Blackwell back, so he is gone as well. All right. Well, things are going swimmingly, but I think I'm going to wrap it up here because it's getting on to an hour and I don't like to go too long. So I think I gave you a decent amount of flavor. What I might do is do a second video in a little bit where I will kind of speed up, or maybe even just give like a brief recap of events as we get to the trench line, and then do the enemy trench area as part of that. So that's going to do it for this one. Thank you for watching. Shout out to my channel members. I appreciate your support as always. Greatly, greatly appreciated. For everyone else, as I said, thanks for watching. If you could, please consider liking, sharing, hyping, maybe even subscribing. Any of that would be awesome. But even if you decide not to do any of those things, hopefully you'll come back and check out something else down the road. We're done for now, so thank you everyone once again. I am Joe. This is the Hexed Encounter channel, and until next time, as always, happy gaming.